obviously most people run to the brightest side of the room, which is Clockwork Orange, and it's easy to talk about it.
Well, we were talking about If.
If, that's why I'm saying I want to talk about If, because I think If is just as important, because it's one of those seminal sort of moments in time that like sort of unleashes the energy that sets up all these other things. And, and of course, and if you tell me because you were there, Kubrick sees you in If, and basically he's like, there it is. And he just basically transplants that you and that guy into the...
And a lot of the film, by the way, was definitely inspired by Lindsay Anderson's If.
Okay, start here. How did Lindsay feel about that interpolation?
Okay, I'll tell you what happened. He saw it in New York because he was there getting the money for Oh Lucky Man.
Sure.
And so, of course, a lot of talk about Clockwork Orange, and Lindsay had heard a lot about it. And he'd also given me the key to playing the part, but that's another story. But so I got a telegram which said, "Dear Malk, saw Clockwork, not my cup of tea, but you were brilliant."
Aww.
Now, I knew that, of course, he could never say another director was brilliant.
Sure.
It would have been like pulling teeth. Also, they were so different in human terms that Lindsay was, you know, a people person. He loved artists, he loved actors. He actually loved actors. A director that loved actors is a rare thing indeed. And sits with them and talk to them and cajole them.
Did you, I mean, I saw the thing that you did. I don't know how to quantify it. I mean, it was a documentary, but it was also kind of a one-man show talking about your relationship.
It was my love letter to him.
Beautiful. Fantastic. I mean, I wish somebody would do that for me someday.
Yeah.
So,
well, somebody said, "Why didn't you do it for Stanley?" And I said, "Because there's nothing there, really. There's nothing poetic about Stanley."
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's a genius if you want to talk about, you know, lighting and microphones and all that. But on the human side, to play, that would only last 20 minutes.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about If, because If is the key to this. I'm not a filmmaker, but to me, If provided Stanley Kubrick with the key of what he needed to make Clockwork Orange, why it was so successful.
Well, after he passed away, I was asked to go with Christiana, his widow, to Australia to open this museum event of Kubrick's movies and life.
Okay.
And I said, I'd be happy to do that. Of course, I'll go. And we went out together, and I saw a lot of her for the week that we were there. And I was doing, you know, Q&A things, and I didn't really, somebody asked me how I got to be cast, and I went, "Oh, I think he saw If." That was all I knew. And so Christiana said, "Oh, Malcolm, no. What happened was the film was the red hot thing in London. Everybody was talking about If. And Stanley had a projectionist on 24/7 standby, got Paramount to bring out the reels of film to watch it. And they were all there watching it at the house. She goes, "You made your first entrance." Stanley hit the intercom and said, "Relace that." I do. "Let's see that again." 4 times. After the 4th time, and I'm shaving my mustache off when I've grown it in the holidays, you know, back to college, school, this oppression, this, and Stanley looked at his wife and said, "We found our Alex."
Wow.
Yeah. She told me. I was quite moved, actually. I was like, and of course an actor would never know that, you know. So all I got was, this director wants to meet you. And I went, "Well, I'm shooting." He goes, "Yeah, you can go in your lunch hour." I went, oh, well, luckily the film I was shooting was in Elstree, and he lived there, Boreham Wood, which is quite a way outside London, on North London. And so I went to see him in my lunch hour, and he took me into a small little study that had a TV and a sofa, and that was about it. And we chatted, and I thought, wow, what an interesting guy. You know, he had these amazingly black, intelligent eyes that were kind of mesmerizing, actually. And I told him, you know, I'm doing this film with Brian Forbes and blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh, yes, I know Brian. I went, yeah, he's a very nice guy, and we're having fun. And so I went, and, oh, Stanley, I have actually got to be back because I'm first up after lunch. And I stood up, and he just looked at me. And I said, was there anything special that you wanted to see me about? And he said, well, yeah. Have you heard of this book? I went, which book? And I could see him struggling. He didn't really, he was in two minds whether he was going to tell me what the title was. I went, well, what is it? He said, Clockwork Orange. I went, doesn't ring a bell. He went, really? Well, it's a real cult thing.
Yeah.
I went, well, I don't know. It's not my cult then. I don't know. I've never heard of it. He goes, well, look, here's the book. I want you to read it and call me. I went, okay, will do. You know I'm shooting a film, right? He goes, yeah, okay. So I went, thank you very much. Had nice to see you, blah, blah, blah. So I go back. Of course, I can't read it right away. I'm learning lines and stuff. So then I start on it and thought, God, this is a tough read. What the hell does all this mean? And I'm looking at the back and the glossary and, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I struggled through the first read, and I thought, God, there's no way you can make a film. And then I thought, I better read it again. Now, the next time was a lot easier, and I thought to myself, oh, God, this is extraordinary. And I thought, I better read it one more time because he's going to grill me or something. I read it again, and I knew that it was one of the great parts.
Mm.
So I picked up the phone. Now, a week had gone by.
Okay.
I said, Stanley? He went, yes. I said, it's Malcolm here. Look, I've read the book. He went, oh, I thought you would have called days ago. And I said, yes, no. It's just that I wanted to really read it very thoroughly, and I read it 3 times. He went, oh, well, what do you think? I went, well, I think it's remarkable. And now, having heard this story from Ian Holm.
Right. So you knew this then.
I said, so Stanley, are you offering me the part? And
did you know it was the part? Meaning like
well, there's only one part.
Okay, but I'm just saying that you felt that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said, are you offering me the part? There was silence.
It's funny because, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
it's almost funny because like the way you're portraying, it's almost like a scene from the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, life
imitates art. Yeah,
absolutely. So there was silence, and I thought, well, I'm going to wait this one out. And he said, yes. That low. Yes.